Is that a mannequin behind you? What is that behind you?
With the mask.
All right, can you guys hear me?
Yeah, what's
I think
behind you?
That's her virtual background. That's the picture of
Is
her
that
daughter.
your virtual background? Okay, I was wondering. I said, whatever that is, it's not moving. So, okay.
It's my picture of my daughter, Rachel, who's actually sitting in my old office space at Auctioner.
Oh, that's funny.
So anyway, so I'm going to record the meeting for those, unless anybody has an objection to it. I'm going to record the meeting for those who couldn't be with us today. And just so that way they can feel free to listen to it on their own time, but help everybody get back on track as far as planning this meeting is concerned. So we've got a lot of work to do, and I'm really excited about getting started. But just to make sure everybody is aware of the new meeting dates, right?
No, I'm not. I guess I'm out of the loop.
Anybody else? Okay, so the new meeting dates are going to be, oh my goodness, let me pull them up to make sure I don't mislead anybody.
Wait, is Patsy on here? Wait a minute. Where's Patsy?
She's here.
Do you know what the new meeting dates are?
Well, I have it in my email somewhere. I don't know offhand.
Okay. All right, go ahead, Karen.
But I know they got changed.
So the new meeting dates are April 18th through 22nd of 2022. So are those dates. The way that the meeting contract, the revised meeting contract or the addendum work is that we are still in the same time frame as we were for the 2021 meeting. And I say that by meaning that we are following the week of Easter. So Easter is April 17th, 2022, and our meeting space is being held starting April 18th. The meeting space on April 18th on that Monday is only a conference room though, because it's simply meant to be our setup day, with the actual meeting days being April 19th through the 22nd. So it'll be a Tuesday through a Friday. Any comments about that? Any thoughts, suggestions? I'm looking for input from folks.
Carrie, would that mean that like student bowl, if we normally have student bowl in the beginning, it would start on Tuesday? Is that correct?
That is correct. Yes. So student bowl would actually be that first day. So okay. April 19th. And I had put together a proposed grid. So my next question becomes, in the email communication I've sent out, I have sent everybody the information on how to access the Google Drive for where the meeting information is being held. Does everybody have that information?
And that's the Gmail and the password?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
So all of that information has been updated and all of the meeting information is being held there. My goal was to have a site where we could edit documents and access them in real time. So that way, as changes were made and as things were planned, everybody would have access to the information without having to share documents.
That's nice.
All right. So does everybody, the meeting, just so everybody's aware, the address or the username for that account is bistatemeeting@gmail.com. And of course, I'll send this out in the notes again. It's in the minutes, or it's in the agenda for today. But the password is lowercase ASCLS 2022. Really generic, right? Really unique.
That's why I haven't hired you, Carrie, is because of that, creativity.
Keep it simple.
Right. So All right, so on that particular site there is a grid that has been put together, and it was something that I simply had drafted based on what had been planned for the 2019 meeting. So Jessica had graciously shared all of her documents with me for that meeting, and on that particular site I put together the program with the new dates, and using the metrics that she had or using the schematic that she had used for that meeting, I rearranged things just to kind of give us an idea of what the meeting would look like. And so I'm saying all this to say that in the meeting planning world, the old saying is logistics should never drive content. So in other words, you should always create your content first and then look at how you're going to build your program from there. But in our laboratory minds, sometimes it's really difficult for us not to have that program or that grid in place. And so the first thing I really wanted to talk about tonight is, are there significant changes to the meeting for 2022 that we would like to implement that we haven't done before? Are there things that we want to do differently, maybe like different session types, or maybe scheduling, student bowl at the end of the meeting rather than at the beginning, or just throwing ideas out there. But I just kind of wanted to open it up for discussion from you guys to see if you had any ideas of around doing things differently.
I don't know. We've done it like this so long, I never even thought about doing it a different way. But maybe so.
One thing, go ahead.
I was going to say that one thing, ASCLS always asks for feedback after the meeting, about, do you have any suggestions about, of course, this is after the fact for us because it's too late, but I don't know that I've, heard people make recommendations or complain about the meeting format, but I don't know. What do you think? I sort of interrupted you.
No, I was just going to say, I think that people do like a variety of length. Like, I know that we played around with having all hour-and-a-half sessions, and some people do really like hour sessions, and some people like an hour and a half.
Mhm.
So, maybe a variety.
So we had kind of gone to 1 hour sessions, and you thinking maybe we should mix in some hour-and-a-half sessions? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, well, especially if they're, if the topic warrants that, an hour and a half is really hard to keep anybody's attention span. But
Especially in the
if
afternoon.
there's maybe an interactive, like an hour and a half where there's some question, really interactive with the audience. I've been to hour and a half where they actually lectured for about 50 minutes, and then they had like interactive Nearpod, or where they asked the questions to the audience and they could use their cell phone to reply back. It was more interactive, and so that filled in that hour and a half, because an hour and a half can be really long for some people,
especially for the student reviews.
Yes.
I've done that. It's really hard to get a whole hematology review, for example, in an hour and 15 minutes. So that might be an example of something you would need an hour, 30 minutes, and give them a little break in between, some little interactive chit chat or game in between for a break.
Well, and let me ask this. I know for the 2019 meeting that it was decided not to have the student review sessions. And so do we still want to, do we want to keep that same plan?
Did y'all get feedback about the student review sessions? Did anyone say they wished we had them, or I don't know. I kind of, y'all, I can't even remember what happened yesterday, much less 2 years ago.
Don't feel bad. I do think that maybe instead of, I mean, this is my personal view. I mean, I'm okay if somebody doesn't want to have any reviews, but I know our students really did like that. But maybe not try to do like all of, because it's like Jennifer said, it's so hard, like to do a hematology review in an hour and a half, but maybe just break it down. I think last year we had just anemias, or you could just do leukemias, or, you know, just maybe take a section, and in micro, you could just do maybe acid fast, anaerobes, you know,
Yeah,
maybe
that's a
not
good
try to
idea.
Yeah.
not
That's a
try to
very good
get
idea.
everything in all at
That's
once,
too
because that's
hard.
where you lose people.
That's intense for the presenter too.
Yes,
Trust me.
it is.
Oh, died creating that.
That's a good point, is we might get more people to join in
Mhm.
and present if it's a small compact area rather than something huge.
So let me ask this, would it be possible that, because, we have, we have a good diverse group of folks that are represented on this planning committee. So would it be possible to look for those student review sessions, look at those specific topics within each area, and maybe pick one area, one topic that students frequently struggle with?
Yeah.
And then focus on trying to find a speaker to present that topic, not necessarily as a review, but more or less as an education session. So even anybody who was, seeking that information could go and attend.
Maybe.
I
I
like
think-
that idea.
I do too. I mean, I think picking something that's a little more complex might take a little burden off of them, because they can learn the easier stuff, or they already remember it. So
They'll
spend the
absorb what
time
they're
where
doing
they
a lot
need it.
better.
Well, look, it hasn't been as long since you've been a student. So what do you think about that?
I think it would be really good to cover the hard topics, the things that they're going to, I don't want to say struggle on, but they're not going to do as well on their ASCP exam, just because it's a lot more in depth. They quickly, between their final exam, their studying that they're doing before that kind of stuff, all of that stuff, it's the easy stuff stays with you for sure. It would be nicer to do some of that harder stuff that's there, and then you don't lose their attention and their ability to absorb the information. By having it be an hour and a half and they're zoning in and out. Oh, I know this already. And then, oh, wait, what are they talking about now? I have no idea.
Sure.
Carrie, so how would we pick up the topic, the student struggle?
So I think that what would have to be done is that we would need a group of educators who would come together, educators representing different areas. And I don't have the program committee right in front of me, but Patsy, you're heading that committee, right?
Not really.
Did I just put you on the spot?
You did.
Okay, I can't remember who's heading that committee. I'm sorry, but
She
anyway,
is. She's down there. She
Maybe the
is.
best choice.
What?
She is on there as chair of the program committee. I think so. Don't.
All right,
I don't
so-
know about that.
Don't
So
shake your
perhaps
head off.
perhaps we could use the folks that are on that program, the folks that are on the program committee, because I know that we have a diverse group of educators, and look at all, the different areas of focus that their students typically need. And for those of us who are on the planning committee, maybe even if you're not working with the program committee, by all means, working with that group as
Yeah.
well, to make
Suggestions
sure
would
that,
be good.
suggestions for areas that, looking at your BOC scores after you've had a group of students take the exam, which area that your students are struggling in, and picking those topics based on whatever those disciplines are. But I do think having a variety from each of the disciplines is definitely warranted.
I think that this will be good, like having a specific area where students struggle, and then they can, pick up which session they want to. So like, I'm thinking, are we going to have like 2 sessions per area, like 2 chemistry, 2 heme, or 2 micro, or is it going to be 1, or we don't know yet? maybe we're just planning, we're just talking about, right? Yeah.
Yeah, we're just talking about it. And that's what I was saying, that on the Google Drive, I've created a schematic based on what we've offered in the past. And so, for example, most of them are just our sessions because, Jana, as you had said, most people were struggling to keep attention for an hour and a half. But not only that, we don't expect, as an educator, you would never expect your student to sit through an hour and a half worth of lecture. You start losing them after, 30 minutes. So if we don't expect it of our students, why should we expect it? Yeah, 10. there
Maybe
you
y'all
go.
did. I make them suffer.
Patsy holds them 3 hours.
No. Sometimes
so-
two, though.
I
Sometimes.
mean, I give them a break, but yeah, it's terrible,
It is.
But
It is. But they
And so
survive.
they
The
do.
sessions are broken out. Like previously we'd had like 3 sessions per time period. So as you were saying, it would just be so we would have like a chemistry, a heme, a blood bank, or a blood bank, we would mix it up for each time frame.
Yeah.
The goal of the meeting is to be able to offer, or I should say, I don't know if this is written, but I was always told the goal of the meeting is that a person could receive 12 hours of CEs just
Right.
from attending the meeting.
Yeah. But
Well,
about
that's
the,
what Phyllis Toops used to always say. That's
Yeah.
what she thought it should do. It should be, so.
back to the educate the student sessions. I mean, we could have, if they're hour, you could maybe, depending on the topic, you don't have to have a whole hour on one topic. You might have 2 topics in there, or I don't know, we can break it up into different, lengths of time that we think might be necessary for whatever the topic might be.
That's a great point. You could have
Yeah.
co-presenters and
Yeah.
have 2 different topics.
Right.
That's a great point.
So if they're an hour and a half, you might have 3 presenters. It just depends on what you think you need to cover and how much time it's going to take to really get that harder
Yeah,
topic.
but they still sitting there for an hour and a half.
Yeah, but it helps if it changes topics
Well, and a speaker change that.
and
helps.
changes speakers.
We could have chocolate bingo in between sessions.
Yeah.
Chocolate bingo.
Stand up and do the Wonder Woman pose.
That's right. We'll
Yeah.
be creative.
I wish there was a fun way to teach how to do a verification validation for assays.
Ugh.
Just for being on this vendor side, there's like people have no idea what the heck's going on.
No, they don't.
I think part of that has to do with the amount of people retiring, that a lab might have had 1 or 2 people that just always did them, and maybe those people are gone. And I'm just thinking of something that could be in our new grads tool belt that would allow them to add value in their work life really quickly and be able to show their new job, their new boss.
I think you should
I
do a
disagree,
session
Lou.
on
You should do
validation
one.
verification.
I think you
Yeah.
need to offer that to everybody.
Luke, I think
Yeah.
that you just
Because
volunteered
that's
yourself.
not-
You just
that's
volunteered
not-
to do
I said
that.
somebody would need to find a creative way to do
And
it.
everybody has a
You would be the
calculator
one.
now. They have a calculator on their phone. You could make it interactive. It would actually be pretty good.
I think that would be a good session for everybody.
LSU
Yeah.
LSU has although I'm wondering if, because I can do it remotely. LSU has a contract for Turning Point. Has anybody used Turning Point in their lectures? Where the students can use their phones? They don't need
have.
clickers.
But I use Nearpod now, just because Turning Point, it became where you had to purchase the unit, and
Well,
and
not
Nearpod they can use
anymore.
phone.
Turning Point, they use their phones. There's a web.
Okay, they probably changed that up. So I
Oh,
think they all
yeah.
work.
Well, I mean, I had clickers for years and they all began to break. And then people kept saying, well, they can use their phone. They can use their phone. So anyway, it's hard to teach an old dog new tricks. And I'm definitely an old dog. But I figured it out. And so I used the students use their phones, but it's LSU's contract. And, but maybe Well, I don't know. I have to look into that. So the students sign in, they download the app and then they use the LSU email address. So it could be that you can only use it if you're part of the LSU system. But I was just saying, we have that contract with Turning Point, and I think you can have up to like 150 or 250 participants, but maybe they all have to be part of the LSU system. But I'm not sure, but I have to
Maybe
look
not,
into it.
maybe not.
Maybe not.
Because
I'll
what
have
if
to
we
look
were
into it.
doing something for, you know, some other kind of session? that-
It could be
not all
that they
students.
only have to log in with their LSU ID if I want to keep track of the individual participants, by name.
Yeah,
Like if I'm giving a quiz, I need to know who's attached to the response. But if we're doing it just for fun in an audience, you wouldn't have to know. I'm gonna look into that and see, okay?
That,
Perfect.
But
that would
that,
be
you
cool
could do an
for all of
interactive thing
the
like that.
sessions, even with
But then-
the students. Because then you, like during your hard, lectures, your topics that you're doing right before you cover it, you can be like, what do you think this is? And just randomly throw in some questions,
You
one or
could put a
two.
picture of the Taj Mahal or, the whatever.
Yeah, just something
It might
to
even-
reel them back in.
Yeah, right. But Janet, what do you have to not have a license with the software you use, or you have a
No,
license? for that?
I use Nearpod. There is a basic version and there is a fancy version that you do have to pay a little bit more, but I can check, and it's really cool because you can actually, let's say, you want somebody to actually draw, you can have them draw on their phone and then you can pull it up. There's all kinds of little cute features besides just answering questions that you can do.
Okay.
Um,
Do you pull that up within a PowerPoint presentation? Is that what you do?
Yes,
And
it's
so-
the PowerPoint is connected, and so it actually shows live. How many answered A, how many answered B, and how many C. And I have been at a national meeting, and they did this. It was Philadelphia Children's Hospital, and it was on infectious disease, and it was so good because they asked the audience different questions to kind of poll, and it was just interactive, and it really kept everybody engaged. It was
Yeah.
one of the better sessions I've been to.
That's interesting. I never heard of Nearpod, but wait, and can you have like up to like 30, 40, 50 people?
Well, I will check on that. I mean, I think that you can have several people, so I'll do a look on that and check and see if there's a limit. And
Right,
if you
because I
can
mean,
have-
like some of those student review sessions, there could be, 60, 70, 80.
oh yeah, or
students.
even close to 100 sometimes. I mean, a lot of
Yeah.
folks will go to
Yeah.
the reviews.
Yeah.
oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I use this quiz teacher Kahoot in my classroom. So it's super easy, I have questions and they can answer, and it gives me how many answer correctly. It gives me the time, how, it took for a student to answer that question. And all students have to do is it creates a PIN number, and students have to put that PIN number on their phone, and they just get into that Kahoot and they can answer the question.
And that's free as well?
Yeah, that's free. And I'm not sure how many participants it allows. I have to check on that. I use the classic mode. I mean, I have like 10 students in my class, so that's what I have used so far. So I don't know how many students can log in at one time.
And
I'll
what's it
check
called
it.
again? I'm sorry, what's it called again?
It's Kahoot, Kahoot.
Yeah.
Mhm.
that's
I've
what
used
somebody
I've used
talked about.
Kahoot too. It works about the same as Nearpod. It's good.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, we enjoy it. Yeah, right. It has this music, after you read the question, the music comes on, for 15 seconds or however seconds you want that, like 15 seconds or 30 seconds you want to give the students to answer. So
Being like
and-
da, 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 da,
yeah,
da,
right,
da,
yeah.
da.
It's very, I mean, students enjoy it.
Yeah, okay.
All right, so some great discussion around maybe some interactive tools that would be applicable for student sessions, but also perhaps for some of the for some of the other education sessions that are focusing on other topics. And so I love the discussion that's going on. I also wanted to ask you guys, just thinking about some of the things that we've already done when we were planning the 2021 meeting. There was I had posted an online session proposal link so they could fill, so prospective speakers or just, or somebody, whoever could suggest a speaker for a topic for a session, just like we would do with ASCLS for the national meeting or for CLEC. And I have done the same thing for the 2022 meeting. So I don't know that we haven't had much promotion around that. I don't know who's doing like social media for either of the organizations, or perhaps it's something that we could post. I know James is on. So James, perhaps maybe this might be something that we could post in the community, in the Connect communities for ASC for Louisiana, and Jana maybe for Mississippi, just so we can also get suggestions from outside folks to suggest proposals. James is texting me that he got it. So how does that sound for everybody? Everybody in agreement with that, or
Yes.
any? Okay.
Yeah, and I will put it in the Mississippi Connect community and also on our webpage. I'll put it on the front page.
Perfect. It's posted on the Louisiana webpage as well.
Okay.
So we did get some interest generated from 2021 proposals. I did reach out to other speakers when we had to postpone the meeting to let them know that we would be in contact with them later on. The education program, the committee for the education program, would you guys be okay with us continuing to review those proposals as possible submissions for 2022 as well?
Sure. I didn't know we had some submissions already. I didn't know
didn't
we had
either.
some. Where did they go? To you, Carrie?
Yeah, I've got it. They're on that Google Drive.
Okay.
Okay.
I want to
Okay,
reach
I
out
need to
to
visit that.
UAB individuals too, because I know there were several UAB folks that wanted to come over when we had the Mississippi one was planned that got canceled. So they might want to come. New Orleans would be a really easy place.
Oh,
for
yeah,
them.
definitely.
Jenny did reach out about that, and she did submit proposals, and I think that
Okay.
she's even a part of the committee. In fact, she's on the education program. So, and what I will do, guys, after this meeting is that I will send each of the committees again a reminder of who their committee members are, because that's another thing that I would like for us to go ahead and start doing, and that is re-engaging each of those committees that we had previously established, and going ahead and moving forward with planning what needs to take place. Now, if I'm not mistaken, I believe I saw Shamanika, you're on this call, right? I think I see your name.
Yes, I see her.
I am. Hello, hello.
Hey. So I know that you were planning you had volunteered to take on the career fair, and I wanted to kind of move into that as our next piece, because I wanted to discuss our engagement perspectives that we have.
Okay.
So we have 3 different levels of engagement. We have exhibitor, sponsor, and then we also have a career fair. And I know Shamanika was going to do the career fair part of it.
Hold on, Carrie, ask her to mute herself. Because I think it's Shamanika. Because there's
I'm sorry.
feedback. Ask
Shamanika, can you mute yourself?
Yeah.
Okay, she's muted now. Sorry, there was feedback going on.
I was muted. No, I was muted, but I'm about to mute myself again.
Okay. Good deal. So we have those 3 different levels of engagement, and with the career fair, we typically, traditionally, again, this goes back to some of those program questions, we traditionally had held that career fair shortly after we had hosted the Student Bowl, because we wanted to make sure that we captured as many students as possible. So that's something that I think that we need to have just a little bit of discussion around right now is, do we want to go forward planning the meeting in the format that we have always used, or do we want to look at an alternate format? Because if that's the case, it very well might influence when we would place the career fair and the exhibits.
Well, Carrie, do you have something in mind as an alternate plan for the meeting? I mean, I'm getting vibes. No? Okay.
No, but I wanted to open up the idea. So for example, like I said, one of the ideas is, moving Student Bowl to the end of the meeting, because Student Bowl is occurring so close after Easter that particular week. Would it behoove us to have it on Thursday and Friday versus having it on Tuesday and Wednesday? Would the governance that'll take place at the meeting, would it behoove us to shift that towards the end of the meeting too, or should we leave it as we have already established it?
When do we usually have the governance meetings?
So it's varied actually from year to year, but the way
that's what I'm saying. Go ahead.
And so recently it seems like we have had it at the beginning, the business meeting, towards the beginning of the meeting, and just going ahead, like for the example proposal that our program that we have on the Google Drive, the governance is scheduled for that Tuesday evening, which is the first day of Student Bowl. And I know that previous years when I've attended meetings, of course I didn't go to Monroe, but other years that governance, those meetings seem to take place right there at the beginning. And then the awards luncheon, which I consider that part of governance as well, but the awards luncheon would take place on that Thursday, on the Thursday to do, to announce all the winners. But that would also entail Student Bowl winners staying later as well, unless we continue to have a separate Student Bowl award ceremony. So just some things to consider, to think about.
Well, I mean, Patsy will remember this. There was a time when the award ceremony, for many years, it wasn't at a lunchtime. It was in the, I get 5 o'clock. Remember,
Yeah.
Patsy? Or
Right,
5:30.
right.
So, I don't know what dictated whether it was going to be at lunchtime or whether it was going to be in the evening, but for many, many years, it was always in the evening. And then I don't know how it got switched, but to luncheons, but it doesn't have to be at a lunch.
Well, that's good to know,
we could do
because
it the day we could do it. Well, I guess maybe one of the reasons is Student Bowl started finishing in the morning of the second day. And so then we would just have it right then, and so I think that's what happened. I think it was Student Bowl that made it change. When Student Bowl finished.
Okay, so now that luncheon that occurs after Student Bowl finishes is the educators luncheon. Is that something that we still want to keep in the program as well?
Yeah, I don't know. I guess we have to think about that. I think what happened was, and I'm just saying this, that the Student Bowl would start really right after lunch on the first day, and then it would go through the next day so that it wouldn't finish until later in the afternoon. So, I mean, it just all depends on how we want to do it. But I do think that if we do a luncheon for the awards, that we need to do it right after Student Bowl is over, right? Because the students might not stay till the next day. And that happens, right?
Can I add something to what Angela said that was really, since I have been participating with students in Student Bowl, they've always started like at 8 o'clock in the morning. But what you just said actually is a good idea, because a lot of times the students have to come the night before because they don't want to get up at 5 in the morning and drive. And so,
and that's why we used to start it later, to allow
if you start it like at lunchtime, then they don't have to spend that extra night.
Well, depending on where they're coming from. I guess if they're coming way from,
of course, if it's New Orleans, they're going to come early, and then we're just going to have
no
to
problem.
pick up.
Yeah, we got rooms to fill too, guys. Don't forget that.
That's true. We do have rooms to fill, so
Yes.
that's a point.
Yeah, so, yeah, having it in the morning, it doesn't have to start at 8, y'all. It could start a little bit later. Anyway, that also would depend, I guess, on how many students we have participating, but
Yes.
I don't know, if people start coming from Alabama and they want their, students to participate, we may have more than usual.
Right. In West Florida, we could.
Yeah, Florida,
Mhm.
right.
So
Mm.
that also, I'm so glad that you're bringing up these points, because the reason I wanted to have this discussion is that the JW Marriott is going to limit spaces. So one thing that James reminded me of is that awards this year is going to be a little tricky, and that we're going to have 3 years worth of awards to present, because we didn't have an award ceremony last year. So we're going to have 20, well, I shouldn't say 3, but at least 20 and 2021. So we'll have at least 2 years of worth of awards to present, and it's going to last a little bit longer. So if we have a luncheon, might get, it might behoove us to look at moving that, not to mention, because we are going to be, if we have the awards luncheon at the same time that we have exhibitors set up, we're going to have space constraints. And I don't know that we have a space hold big enough on that Thursday to be able to have an awards luncheon for all the attendees. Essentially, we would have to have brown bags where people eat it in their laps. So it's definitely something that we want to look at, possibly rethinking of how we're going to do the award ceremony, and perhaps maybe moving it to a different time and to a different format. We do have a $35,000 minimum food and beverage that we do have to meet for the meeting. That's going to be, surprisingly, we will meet that very easily. But it's something that we do need to keep in mind as we are planning the events. So I definitely would like to just go ahead and start planting the seed now of how do we want to do how would we want awards to look this year? How long do we want to allocate for awards? Because, it will be a little bit longer. Is there something maybe that we want to do different on how to present awards? So that way we don't have folks that are sitting in a ceremony for 2 hours, with different people being called out. So just some topics to think about as we're going through and looking at the proposal.
What is the biggest room that we're gonna have available? You said there are constraints. The JW Marriott has size something. What did you say, Perry?
So they have, it's gonna, if we have the awards luncheon at the same time that we have the exhibitors still or the exhibit hall still open, then we're going to be constrained into, it's going to be too small of a space. In fact, on that G drive, there is a capacity chart for the rooms that we'll be using at the JW Marriott. And in addition to the capacity chart, we also have certain rooms that have already been allocated for things such as general sessions for those days. And we have X amount of general sessions. So one thing that Vicki Johnson had mentioned to me, as she and I had this conversation earlier this week, is that we have room, technically our exhibit hall could open as early as Tuesday. Previously we've only held it open maybe the third and fourth day of the meeting. But it's something that she said that, it's something that we might want to consider. But if we have Student Bowl that happens at the beginning of the meeting, is there an advantage for having the exhibit hall open while we have Student Bowl going on? I don't know that there would be any value for the exhibitors if we do it that way. So that's another reason why I was thinking that I wanted to mention, perhaps thinking outside the box of how the program might look for this year.
I missed if we do have it open while the Student Bowl is going on, you said, I don't know if something, and I missed what you said.
If it would be of value to the
Of value
exhibitors.
to the exhibitors, because you don't think that they would have people going in.
Right.
Well, maybe if you invited people from the New Orleans area hospitals to come in, that might not be coming because of Student Bowl. But, you know, the normal people that go are going to be in Student Bowl. If you had
Right.
some kind of a situation where you had, you know, the hospitals could pay a small amount and just come for that day and invite them to come in, then Student Bowl could be going on while the area people are going through the exhibits. And I
And you
think the
know,
exhibitors would like that. And I think the hospitals might like that too, if you made it inexpensive, you know what I mean?
Yeah. You know, and we could definitely do that. And we could tell the exhibitors that I remember Lawrence Cangelosi saying that one time when he was working for Abbott and he had come to exhibit at one of the meetings. I think it was when one of them was in New Orleans, and he was saying that he made it a point to invite the customers that, you know, he would want to make contact with, you know, from the area. So, but if we, like Patsy said, if we offer that to maybe lab managers and hospitals, that they could send people for that kind of thing and pay less of a fee, you know, or maybe a shared fee. I don't know. Is that what you're
Well,
thinking, Pat?
Something like that.
Yeah, and this is Melanie. You know, I'm an exhibitor, and I'm also, you know, a sponsor and everything else. And I will tell you, you know, as an exhibitor, when I talk to the vendors that are there, it is, I mean, it's really all about the students getting free stuff, right? It's not really about what the vendor has to offer. And so I think they, over the years, have gotten complacent in what they're doing. Maybe we charge more to the vendors. They bring more to the facility if they can invite those people. So let's tell the vendor, hey, look, you can use this as your road show, but you pay some money for it so that we're recouping. They have people, because it's very boring being an exhibitor when the students are in their classes, because you're sitting there waiting until your time slot and then you get bombarded with the students. And so then it's rush, and then it's calm again, you know. So if the vendors had an opportunity to use it as a road show, in addition to catering and providing the goodies to the students, and, you know, of course, to those of us who actually look at what they have to offer, I think it would be a win-win for the vendor as well.
Yeah.
So my question becomes, do we know, Melanie, and because I know that you've had quite some time in that exhibit hall, would those exhibitors take advantage of that opportunity? Is that something that you think that they have?
I think the answer is yes, because,
okay.
And again, I know that, you know, I work with a ton of vendors, of course, but I bet you, her name is drawing a blank in my head. Who's our vendor person? She used to be in Homer, and now she's somewhere else.
Oh, Gay Brunson.
Gay, thank you. I don't know why I couldn't think of her name. I blame it on COVID. You know, I think Gay would have a really good opportunity to get more vendors. And like I said, it's a free kind of roadshow for them. You know, we could offer maybe Marriott allowing them to bring their trucks in, if there's a place for them to put those in their parking lot.
I was going to say,
it would draw a lot of attraction. I mean, I really do think that it would behoove the exhibitors if we offered them more than just catering to students. I think that's why a lot of vendors over the years have not come. But if they know that they could bring in local hospital systems to come look at new products, new methodology, you know, their latest and greatest, I think we'd have some good feedback from our vendors. And our market needs that. I mean, you know, the state needs it.
Yeah,
So I was
I'm
gonna
not
say,
offended, but I love this talk. I love that we have some input for somebody who really is a vendor. I mean, how do we make that work? Carrie, I don't know, y'all.
well, I was gonna say, I just want to make sure that we do net that I do make sure that we do say, JW Marriott has already told us we cannot have any of the any of their trucks or anything like that pulled in. That there was no room that I did specifically ask that question if that would be a possibility, but it doesn't mean that it's a great idea, Mel, and I think that it definitely warrants further discussion, and the fact that we need to look at being able to implement that, because we've got to provide value for the vendors to come and participate.
But I guess you're saying that in order for them to really bring their stuff, like if they have instruments and things, they have to be able to have, what do y'all mean, bring in their trucks? Tell me what that
You know,
means.
like, those big trucks where they have the instrument all set up in it.
Yeah, Siemens had one at Monroe,
Oh.
I believe.
Yeah.
Siemens had one.
Could we shuttle them to LSU? Maybe we could get LSU to let them park there.
Carrie, was there any discussion about electricity as far as it would be provided for the vendors or what? I mean, there's not a problem with that, right?
So it will be provided. It's an additional fee that the vendor will have to assume, but that's all in the prospectus as to that fee being covered by the vendor.
Hmm. This truck thing is a whole other, I hadn't even thought of that. I know what y'all are talking about now. I don't know how. I mean, Patsy suggested maybe busing people over there. I don't know. Or
That,
maybe,
or what about parking lots that they could rent space in downtown? That are walkable?
Now, that's definitely something that we could look into. The question would be is how much interest do we have, and how much space would we need?
go? Would they go? Huh?
Right. Like I said, I do know that just the mere location of where the JW Marriott is, I know that it's just not feasible, and just based upon the logistics. But I love the idea of being able to shuttle folks to UMC, or just whatever we need to do. As I would love to see as much area hospital participation as possible. So perhaps we could have other sites being involved as well. I know that UMC is, the Beckman Coulter Lab, and I know Auctioner is an Abbott line, and I mean it would just be interesting for to be able to show those lines to different people for the purpose of the vendor.
I wonder if there's something that we could set up, because the vendors would pay us, right, as to be exhibitors, but the people that, if they were lab managers or supervisors, I mean, people that are actually involved in purchasing that stuff, or, need to see that stuff, because the students aren't going to be buying anything, right? And y'all, truly, educators don't buy anything either. I mean, which a lot of our attendees are educators and students, but could we offer that to lab managers and supervisors, that they would have the opportunity to, and not really necessarily charge them much, because we're making the money they don't come anyway to our meeting, but they might go to see to trucks that actually have equipment in them. And that would be an incentive for the vendors to want to come, and I don't know how all that works. I'm just thinking I'm just off the top of my head. Am I making any sense at all? I don't know.
No, by all means. But so let's look at this, like, let's off the meeting, because I know that we're getting close to time. Let's definitely explore this opportunity more. Melanie, you've definitely planted a great seed, and let's get some more discussion around it to see what we can do, because Gay is ready to reach out to the vendors. She's been reaching out to them periodically since last year.
She would have some ideas too, because she's a lab manager, as well as, she's dealt with vendors. So, Yeah, let's think outside the box. You know, the
Let's
vendors
think
like to
outside the
come to New
box.
Orleans. The vendors like to come to New Orleans too, right? So everybody likes to come to New Orleans, sort of. Well, not everybody, but you know, a lot of people. Anyway, yeah, okay.
I
Anyway,
want to say something like I remember when I was working in a hospital as an MLS, and there was a state conference here in Alexandria, Louisiana, and then there were vendors, and our hospital get a pass, like they pay like 300 or 400, I don't know how much, but they only allow 2 techs at a time that can get the pass and go to the conference and visit the booth. And I did that, so I remember that. So I mean, like you are on 8-hour shift, and then 2 people can leave at a time. So that was a good opportunity to involve the local hospitals.
Yeah, that's
institutional
kind
passes
of
have
what I was
varied.
Yeah,
talking about.
we've had
Yeah.
institutional passes for sure.
Mhm.
So anyway, and when the last time we had the meeting in New Orleans, which has been quite a while, we did have quite a few labs take advantage of that. They bought institutional passes, labs in the area and outside the area. They came
that
from as
was
far away as
2005 was when it was in
Yeah.
New Orleans.
Yeah.
So,
I graduated. I was a senior in the MLS program. I
Really?
remember that.
Wow. Yeah.
Well,
It was
and
fun.
we could
And
think
they
of this.
came from as far away as Lafayette. I mean, they came, but anyway, yeah, okay. It's been a
Yeah,
long
and,
time.
and think of it 2 ways. Number one, if you, instead of having the facility pay for the institutional pass, you have the vendor somehow get it, pay for it in their fees, if you will.
There you go. That's a good idea.
Secondly, it can also draw more people to our organization that are not members of our organization. They can
Yeah.
and they can see what we're doing. They can, not just the exhibit, but we could have programs laid out where they can see what we're offering and educational opportunities, et cetera. So it could be twofold, but we have the vendors pay for it instead of the facilities to attract more people.
Well, I guess that's kind of what I was thinking, like if we charge the vendors more, like you said, they'd probably be happy to pay a little more if we thought they could, invite people to come. And I guess that would come under that.
Yeah.
But we can have it like a certain, so for
Mhm.
every person you want to invite or every extra 2 people you want to invite, it would cost you this much more
Yeah.
money, I guess.
Right.
Right? Is that
Right.
Mm.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay? Good ideas.
All right, guys. Well, I know that we just got about a minute left. I wanted just to follow up with a couple of things. One is that I'll follow up this meeting with some very general minutes. We've had some great discussion, and I'll post this recording to the website for those who couldn't attend. I would also like to, I'm going to reach out to each of the individual committees, because I do think that we need to have each of the committees, we need to start getting on a schedule, and those committees need to be meeting regularly to discuss these topics. And Melanie, I will be including you with the conversation with Gay on ideas of how to solicit for exhibitors and vendors. And then Shamanika, I know you're working on career fair, so we will also include you as well on that discussion, because career fair is the third opportunity for participation in the meeting. The last point that I wanted to make sure that we had, or the last point that I wanted to ask is, traditionally, what has been the deadline for the speaker grid? So when should we establish the speaker grid needs to be in place?
You mean
Is
with
that November?
actual speakers and topics? Is that what you
Yes.
mean? To have the program down pat?
November, December, somewhere.
Yeah, usually.
I mean, you could go to December probably.
Oh, yeah, we
Okay.
usually do, but I mean, we've got a little more time this time. So,
Because you mean it's late April? Is that what you mean? Because it's later in April, Patsy?
no, I'm just saying, we're not, it's over a year from now.
Yeah,
So we've got
we're
plenty of
starting.
time.
Well,
The other
the
thing
thing,
is we used to send out, that was years ago, we used to send out a printed
Preliminary program.
preliminary program. Well, nobody does that anymore. It's all electronic.
So we need, oh, we've got back to you, but I just wanted to make sure that we set a date, and so I'll follow up with you guys. All right, I'll go ahead, and since we're right at time, I don't want to keep anybody any longer. I appreciate everybody taking time this evening. Some great discussions around some topics, and let's get started planning a great meeting.
Okay.
All right, bye guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.